again, this comes down to like literally a paradigm shift, a complete and utter paradigm shift. It's not me saying, I'm in service, I'm going to go serve the feminine, I'm going to go serve the ladies. And, you know, like, watch out for guys who are saying that. That's my experience. I am in devotion to the goddess.
How did you arrive at the sacred masculine consciousness?
Through death after death after death of the part of me that wasn't aligned with or awake to the sacred masculine that was in me already at some level. And that was a process that took a long time. And at some point, through the deep devoted, I mean, I look back and I go, wow, that was one devoted dude who like really showed up on his journey. And through that deep devotional spiritual work, and you know, I could go into the depth of what I engaged in, but at some point something started to take over in my being that I could only call the divine masculine. I don't have any other words for it. And I don't like to use that term in terms of like, here, go become the divine masculine, because you can't impose becoming the divine masculine on a man. You can't say, oh, I'm now the divine masculine. You can aspire in that direction. You can be ultra mindful, devoted in the depth of your being to seeing everything in you that's not aligned with a deeper aspect of your being that is guided through your full connection to the oneness of the whole universe and to the woman you're interacting with. And so you can be devoted to looking at and dissolving and releasing out of those aspects of you that are conditioned. And you can engage in a process, and in any given moment you can align with what is more true and more genuine and more in integrity and more in wholeness, and that's a movement in the right direction in any given moment. Now, if you engage in that over time, it's kind of like a natural law of a human being, is that at a certain point a metabolization occurs, a death of that stuff, and this just is all of a sudden living through you. The divine masculine actually like is living through you as you. It shows up as the kind of the driving force of the beingness that you are. And so the way that happened was quite an involved process over a long period of time.
So I can hear some of the women in the forum, they're not on here, but I can just hear them saying,
please,
but how are we supposed to find this person? Where are these people?
Yeah, well, that again, it's a big question. You deserve it. Every woman deserves it. And unfortunately, we are on a planet where it is rare. It's like the unicorns or the needles in the haystack. I like the needles in the haystack because if you become a magnet, if you become a deep, powerful magnet and you walk into a haystack and you're a strong enough magnet, that needle will come to you. There are enough of them that the stronger your magnetic attraction of a level of your own being, it just is a law of the universe. It happens. Now, it's not easy. It's not a flip of a switch. It's in my opinion, very unfortunate and sad. And I'm so sorry there aren't more men in the world who embody this. I wish there were. And I know there are enough, and I wish there were a hell of a lot more, because I feel the same frustration.
What can women do to become the magnet?
You can take Kimberly's classes consistently. You can do your own version of what I was just describing that I have done, which is a devotion to metabolizing, dissolving, dying out of the parts of you that are conditioned. And these get very subtle and very slippery in a woman's consciousness. And one of the ones I'll highlight is a certain righteousness about how fucked up the men in the world are and how they should be better and I deserve it, as opposed to I know I deserve it, and I'm in this soft, radiant knowingness of my deservingness, versus this subtle contraction around that. I deserve it, and fuck them for not being it. You know, that little but all powerful contraction will skew your magnet, and you'll bring in men who are just going to create more frustration in your existence. Now that's a deep process. That's a personal thing to really get at the roots of these parts of us. That one of the ways I describe it is kind of like we were saying, divine masculine and conditioning, right? And it's true of any bit of our essence. Our essential beingness has a certain energy, and our conditioning has another energy. And they kind of sometimes overlap. Like in this case, I deserve it. Your essential beingness can know that hum as an aliveness that knows your worth and your value and what you deserve. And then the conditioning can wrap around that. I fucking deserve it, and they suck because they're not it, or whatever subtle version of that might be happening. I'm exaggerating it. But the ability to get in on that and heal the roots of it and loosen its grip so that it's not running the show, and that you're abiding as this essential beingness, this, lack of a better way of saying it, the divine feminine. You are your feminine radiance, wholly as you, very unique to you. It'll be different than every other woman in the world. There's no one way to be of a divine feminine. That's why I usually don't use these phrases, divine feminine and divine masculine. For a lot of people, it conjures up like they've seen somebody who was that or sold products as that, and they think that it's not that. Like, it's very unique. You know what I mean? It's like you humming as the wholeness that you are. That will become a magnet that will bring the most optimal relating possible for you. And I have seen this occur many times.
What does conscious masculinity mean to you?
It's a great question, because it has evolved over the years, I guess decades now of doing this work, and I guess being a conscious man. I never coined that term for myself, but in hindsight I could definitely say, yeah, I'm one of those guys. And it has definitely changed and deepened and evolved, but I think the true spirit of it, the most authentic and kind of defining factor of a conscious man, is a man who is sincerely and authentically on a path, on a journey of evolution, of wanting to know the truth of his being, of wanting to be the best and most real and most healthy human being he possibly can be. So it's a man who's willing to do his work and look at himself and evolve and grow and be deeply, deeply in his heart. I think that's one of the defining factors. And I say all these things as a way of distinguishing what I would consider maybe in quotes, a spiritual guy, or somebody who maybe does a lot of spirituality or yoga or even psychology, but isn't sincere in the depths of their being. So to me, the defining factor is a certain kind of depth of sincerity, a willingness to be truly vulnerable to the path, to his life, to his connections with the people he interacts with along the way, and especially in relationship with his woman. So that's what comes up.
Awesome.
In the right time. So is there anything else that you feel is on your heart? Or
well, there was a couple other questions in the thread from that woman who was asking the personal questions, and there was one in there that I had wanted to get to, so maybe you could read through the rest of those and we'll do one more.
How does he feel he's in service, and in what ways?
Mm-hmm.
What's most important to you? Are you mentoring boys and men?
Mm-hmm.
What legacy are you leaving for boys and men?
Beautiful. So those all feel perfect to end on. Again, this comes down to literally a paradigm shift, a complete and utter paradigm shift. It's not me saying, I'm in service, I'm going to go serve the feminine, I'm going to go serve the ladies. And, watch out for guys who are saying that. That's my experience. I'm in devotion to the goddess, and yet what I have discovered, and it's really by looking backwards in my life and the wake of gratitude and love and and reflection that I get from the people in my life, the women who I've interacted with, it's a resounding, it's overwhelming. And it's really, my devotion started as a devotion to the truth of life and my life and my being. And it has just by its very nature become a wellspring of devotion. I wouldn't even call it to serve, but to honor. It just, like when I'm interacting, like right now, I look at you, Kimberly, and nothing but a desire to serve you comes up. Like there's love there, and love just wants to protect and honor and serve and help blossom that potential, that goodness that I'm perceiving right there when I look at you. It just is a truly giving energy, just arises naturally. So I'm not going around trying to be in service. I just have committed enough to accessing my truth that when I stay here and abide here and now live from there, it just happens to want to serve and happens to want to be good. And I have a feel for when I'm off of that. And I'm very, very like refined in my awareness of when I come off of that, and have the ability to kind of dissolve, release, come back. And then this wellspring of my beingness just feels so fulfilling and good. Why would I want to be or do anything else? And then the wake, you know, that I leave and that I then get a reflection from is just so beautiful and fulfilling. And it's like literally being a billionaire in love and connection and intimacy. And so when I work with men, I have discovered what I feel is like the all powerful and very pervasive in our culture thing, and I call it the frustration barrier. It's a thing in most men where they can't quite go past a certain level of authenticity, vulnerability, realness, transparency. It's the thing most women are very frustrated about in men. It's like, why can't they be more fill in the blank? And men are leading frustrating lives because they aren't able to get below here and live here. And so I call it the frustration barrier. So when it comes to serving men, what I'm doing is I'm coming up and have helped many men. And it's a very delicate art, because most men are hell-bent on never going past here. It's their trauma barrier. It's everything in them says no. That's where danger lies. And the reality is that's where the fruitfulness of life lies. That's where women are just like, oh, thank God, my man is finally here. Or more men, oh my God, that's what I've been hungry for my entire life, is to feel men beyond that frustration barrier. And that's where men, when they get beyond that, they're like, oh my God, now I see the beauty of the world. I'm living in a state of grace. I have the magic of life and my ability to love and feel love and give love, and the fruitfulness is so beautiful. So like I am serving men in that way to help them artfully, delicately, authentically dissolve through and beyond that barrier of stuff in their psyche, so they can become this divine masculine in a more just lived way, in a way that actually shows up in their lives and the lives around them. And wow, to me, what a better place to live than a planet where men are able to do that and women are satisfied because men have finally done that. So that's kind of,
well, thank you so much just for your generosity and coming to share your path and
thanks for inviting.
Answer these questions and come into this circle where we really are looking deeply into these questions and you know, crossing the bridge, because there's a place for men's work and a place for women's work, but there's also a place for how those things come together and all of the things that are involved in those coming together. So thank you for helping to bridge that.
Hallelujah. I totally agree. And to have that bridge, I think it's the next level.
Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me in, and thank you all for listening to me. And I don't come in as some massive authority. I come in to just share from my perspective and hope it touches and serves in some way. And I do invite, I'm happy to do like a free intro session, so you can just get a taste of the personalization, because it really does come down to a kind of personalization. We're all in such unique lives and unique situations with unique conditioning, and then you put another person and they're unique, And the delicate, artful movement of that is a very personal thing. So that is here and available if you want it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.